Welcome to the Anthropocene. We live at a pivotal moment in human history and Earth's history as well. It's a time when humanity is dominating Earth systems. It's a time when the phrase, you break it, you buy it, takes on a whole new meaning. We are creating our habitat. When this period begins and what to actually call it is in some dispute, but the trends are not in dispute. Just about every indicator, starting in around 1950, every social, economic, environmental, cultural, biological, every indicator starts its inflection point up and going through the roof right around 1950. And the trends are important to everybody in this room because we concern ourselves with leadership and sustainability sorts of topics. And what I want to do is walk through just a few of the big trends in people and planet, and then speak briefly about some of the responses, the market responses and the responses of governance, and then talk to what it means for leadership. People, these are trends we're all familiar with. There are 7-some billion people now, will be to 10 billion by 2050. That's adding another China and probably 3 or 4 more USAs between now and then. We'll be much wealthier. The global economy will probably double or treble, maybe go up 4 times, which is wonderful because that means we'll welcome into the global middle class probably 2 or 3 billion new people, as well as probably get rid of the horrid poverty of a couple dollars a day, and with that growth in middle class will mean the demands for children's rights and education and looking into the future. We'll also be more urban. We crossed the threshold of, as a species about 10 years ago as being 50% urban. By 2050 we'll probably be 75% urban. It's about 1 million people a week moving into an urban area. Again, this is great because we know how to build smartly. Smart growth, it gets people off of the land, allows rewilding to occur, and sometime between now and 2050, we're going to add pretty much all the infrastructure we've built so far. So everything built between time zero and now, we're going to do again in the next 40 or 50 years. Our diet is also changing. We're moving from a grain-based diet mostly to a more wealthy meat-based diet, and that has huge implications for agriculture. We're going to have to increase the food supply probably by 70% between now and 2050. A lot of these things are converging in 2050. You can kind of feel the trends. So the people are changing. Certainly the planet is also changing. Just a sample of these trends. Water, drought, California in the news. The snow melt is not sufficient to meet the needs for agriculture or urban areas. It unfortunately is not an isolated incident. The more alarming statistics are the aquifers under the breadbaskets around the world. They're declining rather rapidly. The farmers are needing to drill their wells dozens of meters further each year to get to the water. Climate change. We are committed probably to at least 2 degrees by 2050 or so. We've already committed to 80% of the carbon that will get us to 2 degrees, that is in the gas tanks in your cars, in the hot water heaters in your homes, in the coal-fired power plants that are giving us electricity. We've already bought, invested, and installed the carbon-burning machines that are going to put 80% of the carbon into our atmosphere to get us to 2 degrees. And we still have 1 billion people to pull out of energy poverty, people that don't have flush toilets and light bulbs. We still have 2 or 3 billion people that are moving into the middle class. We're going to have to treble the amount of energy that we burn between now and 2050. Hopefully a lot of that will not be carbon-based. So we're on our way to past 2 degrees. Biodiversity, another familiar story. We know we've not done a great job of stewarding the biodiversity. We've lost a lot, but again, the trends are alarming. By 2050, we'll be 20% mammals more extinct, 20% more mammals, 21% fish, maybe 30% birds extinct on our watch. And then the sinks, the things we dump our pollution into, are filling up, basically. The ecosystem is full, the biosphere is full, the climate is full of carbon, and we're seeing the implications of that in warming. The oceans also are full of carbon. We're seeing that become more acidic. The streams and lakes are filling up with nitrogen and phosphorus, and we're seeing the consequence of that in algae blooms. So there's a huge, huge impact on the planet. Two big responses, right? Market is responding and governance is responding. The market, the means of production, how we get our goods and services, sees these changes on the horizon and is deliberately, intentionally, and dramatically changing the ways of business. We're familiar with many of these changes. The rise of some green consumerism, the businesses that are becoming more efficient, using less energy, less materials, the access to green capital, the idea of social responsible investing and disinvestment in fossil fuels. So we see these pressures in the news, the rise of the millennial, very curious and insisting on greening their own business, and businesses are responding to all these things because they need to recruit and retain their employees. The big change, the most dramatic one and the transformative one for us, is that this massive ability to analyze and solve problems that's embedded in multinational corporations. And multinational corporations are the best problem solvers that we've ever had in human history. Are analyzing the long-taught supply chains with the Anthropocene risks in mind. So they are focusing on climate risk, resource scarcity, ecosystem degradation, because they are threatening the supply of resources, the transportation systems, the manufacturing, the ability to get goods to customers, and that's dramatically transforming the market in very, very exciting ways. Governance is also changing dramatically. The nation states are not able to manage these problems, which go across boundaries and time barriers that nations and states can't manage. Climate and ecosystem degradation goes across all these boundaries. They don't stop at the state boundary or the national boundary. They don't conform to the election cycles of 2 to 4 years. So the really cool stuff that's happening is the cross-sector space, is in the network governance, where business, civil society, and government are collaborating to solve problems. These are where the solutions lie, and this is where the problems are coming from. And so the institutions of the past, or the 20th century institutions, are not capable of solving these problems. So the really type of really cool governance that's evolving is this network governance, the collaborative governance. So our governance institutions are changing. Now, this has implications for us, a community of people concerned about leadership. Right? The planet is changing and people are changing. That's the Anthropocene. The statistics are familiar to all of us. The market is responding quite dramatically. So is the way we govern ourselves. New forms of governance, new forms of means of production. Leadership also has to transform. And a theme of our community is this collaborative, adaptive leadership. It's a style of leadership that differs from the past, from the 20th century. It's a leadership of leading from where you are. Everybody has to take an active role in this. We don't have power over other people and other organizations. This is not leadership from the corner office or from the elected official or from the person with the title. This is us all taking a role, an active role in the system that in which we're embedded, and getting direction and alignment and commitment to solve problems. It's also adaptive leadership. It's a leadership where we're going to have to learn by doing. It's a leadership where we're going to have to constantly plan, do, test, and learn. The solutions that we've used in the past are not going to work in the future. The systems are different, they're dynamic. The strategies just won't work, so we're going to fail. Unfortunately, we live in a culture that doesn't tolerate failure, and we are a part of professions and technical group associations that are rather risk adverse. So we're going to have to somehow tolerate that failure. There's a lot of learn by doing that's going to happen over the next 30, 40 years if we're going to get to a thriving Anthropocene. And then finally, and most obviously for this community, is collaborative leadership, a boundary spanning leadership. The silos that worked so well in the past to solve 20th century problems will not solve the 21st century Anthropocene problems. We need to work across disciplines. We need to work across professions. We need to work across cultures and class. We need to work most importantly across the sectors. The business sector needs to collaborate with the civil society, need to work solve problems with government, because that's where the solution space is. That's where the solutions lie. So it's just a matter of putting and scaling those solutions up. So welcome to the Anthropocene. I look forward to your leadership. Thank you.